And we have the man himself, Pete Prisco, along with Brady Quinn, who's going to help us dissect these power rankings just a little bit. We start at the top in the 49ers. You say they're the class of the league. I think most would agree. How far have they separated themselves from the likes of the Eagles?
A lot. I think they're clearly the best team. I was one who questioned Brock Purdy. I wanted to see it again. Well, we're seeing it. He's playing at a high level. Now, he has a ton of weapons. They're open all the time. It's a great scheme. It makes it easy on him. But he's making the throws. There were throws he made the other night that you sat there and you went, wow, he can make those throws and make them look easy. So I'm all in on the 49ers. Now, having said that, be careful this week. That's all I'll say. Be careful this week at Cleveland, coming off a bye. Be careful this week.
Is Deshaun Watson even going to play? He was supposedly cleared before the bye and chose not to play versus Baltimore. It sounds like he's still questionable for this matchup. So you could say be careful, but it might be the San Francisco 49ers taking on a rookie quarterback in DTR.
I think he's going to play this week.
I mean, if he's cleared to play, he should play at this point.
But they're clearly the best team.
No, without a doubt, this is the #1 team in the NFL right now. And it has everything to do, in my opinion, as far as how Brock Purdy has operated within this offense. And what impresses me the most is where he's able to move up in the pocket, keep his eyes downfield, and find those second and third windows. There's not a lot of guys, even at a veteran quarterback, that do that. So he should be in the MVP conversation, Pete. And on top of that, I'll go as far as saying, stop calling him a system quarterback. He's not a system quarterback. He'd be able to operate in almost any offense the way he's playing right now. Does it help that he's a part of a Kyle Shanahan system? Of course. Does it help that he's got all these weapons around him? Of course. He's a good quarterback. He's played enough now where teams have a book out on him, and they still can't stop him. So give a lot of credit to Brock Purdy. We need to start talking about him as the MVP candidate, not just Christian McCaffrey from this offense.
So we saw the odds for MVP. The guy with the shortest odds is, of course, Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs, they're coming in at #3 on your list, Pete. They are the top AFC team. And in that game against the Vikings, you were saying you liked what you saw between Mahomes and those young receivers. You think they're going to continue to build upon that?
I do. I think as you look, you saw Rice had a touchdown catch, look much more comfortable. You're getting the ball out to some of those guys. Watson made some plays. I think as they get more comfortable with Mahomes, he's going to get more comfortable with them and knowing where they're going to be at the right time. And I think the offense is really going to take off. And look, Kelsey has to be a big part of it. We know that. But this group, I think as they get better across the board, and they will, I think it's going to be one of those situations where the offense will get better. Defense didn't play great the other day, but they did enough to slow down the Vikings when they needed to.
I feel like they're missing, though, that bigger body target on the outside. And we talked before the season started, like, well, are they going to miss Juju Smith-Schuster? He's not even the same body type that I'm talking about, but he was the type of guy that can make the contested catch that you could rely on where if you don't have that separation, you have that bigger body guy on third down red zone that you can go to. And when Travis Kelce's not there, clearly, this team is without that. And I wonder if they're looking at potentially the trade market and looking at some other receivers that might fit that mold. You almost want to look at your receivers, your pass catchers, as a starting 5. Well, if Kelce's the power forward, they need a center. They need a bigger body guy. I think they thought it was going to be Justin Ross.
He had a big catch the other night.
Sure, but with his medical history and everything else, I don't know that you can rely on that, especially for a deep playoff run. So
I think seeing a big catch from him last week is a good sign for them.
I hope so. Again, you root for that with the player, but again, there's still always going to be the medical history and those concerns for his injury status moving forward. So you wonder if that's still that missing piece. The young pieces are getting better, but at this point, and he hates when I say this, that after Travis Kelce, Isaiah Pacheco is their next best weapon on offense. And they need to start thinking about at times, too, can they get him going? Can they, not only in the passing game, but also in the running game, too?
You mean after Patrick Mahomes, then Kelce, then Pacheco?
It goes without saying with Mahomes. Yeah. I'm saying as far as the people you're distributing the ball
receivers,
to.
Yes, absolutely.
Coming into the week, you could argue the Bills were the top team in the AFC after what they did to the Miami Dolphins, but not after this week. And, Pete, it's not just the losses on the field. It's the losses they've sustained injury-wise.
I don't know how this defense is going to hold up, I'll be honest with you. And they had the makings of a special defense this year with Sean McDermott calling the defense, but you lose Matt Milano and Tre'Davious White. That's brutal to overcome. And last week, by the end of the game, they didn't have any of their top 3 corners. The nickel corner went out at one point, Taron Johnson. They didn't have Christian Benford. And then Daquan Jones went down in that game. The defense is just so depleted that I think it's going to start bleeding over to the offense where Josh Allen's going to be asked to do more and be Superman even more. And we know what happens at times when that starts to be an ask by the offensive coordinator. He starts turning the ball over. So I'm concerned about them because of the defense.
Not throwing in the towel yet, though?
No.
Okay.
No.
I mean, I think, look, this has been one of the deeper rosters that we've seen, and credit Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott and their staff and front office, but that depth is being tested right now in a big way, in particular on defense, and you wonder whether or not this offense can sustain itself having to win in shootouts every single week. Josh Allen's played incredible this season, but that's eventually going to wear on him, and probably more than anything in the playoffs when they make that run. They will be a playoff team, so it just comes down to, are they maybe an active, trade partner for someone? They should, because this is their window right now as far as their opportunity to go win a Super Bowl and try to make a run in the playoffs.
It's funny because all they kept saying was, wow, how good will that defense be when Von Miller gets back? Well, Von Miller's back, and he didn't look like Von Miller at all last week.
It's his first game back.
Right, all right, but he's going to get going eventually, but now you're depleted at the second level and at the cornerback position.
Yeah, Bills coming off that loss to the Jags. Next up for the Jags, they have the Colts, who are up 7 spots in your power rankings, up to number 13 after that incredible performance from Zach Moss. Indy, they're without AR for some time, but they're going to have Gardner Minshew, perhaps a revenge game maybe against Jacksonville.
That's Pete's guy, Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, a little revenge game for Gardner Minshew, Pete.
You'd rather face Gardner Minshew than Anthony Richardson, I can tell you that, 100% certainty. Jacksonville's sitting there doing cartwheels facing Gardner Minshew because they know he can come off the bench and play well. When he plays starting quarterback, I think for any period of time, I think it's going to be a problem. He will turn the ball over. I worry about Jacksonville a little bit in this game when they play him because they're coming down off a London trip and a big win, and we've seen how teams come off big wins in this league. It's not been good, so that's a concern. But I do think that the Colts, they've regrouped, and I give them a lot of credit. I don't know why they paid Jonathan Taylor, but that's a whole nother story.
Look at the details of the deal. I mean,
It's still
he's on his rookie deal this year. Afterwards they'll start that. It's not that big of a financial commitment.
Maybe Zach Moss should have got the money.
Okay, it's beside the point. They've now got 2 running backs and the depth there, I think, to shoulder some of the burden that Gardner Minshew is going to be carrying for this team. So, look, the Colts have been fantastic. Give Shane Steichen and his staff a ton of credit for the job they've done, not only with Anthony Richardson, but adapting in-game to having a different quarterback. 3 of 4 games this year? It is concerning, though, moving forward for Richardson. I mean, for a guy as athletic as he is and the way his style of play, I mean, every single game he's had an issue in getting hurt. So that's concerning moving forward. But I think the Colts have put themselves in a good position where they might surprise you this week, Pete. Even though Gardner Minshew is starting, I think they might have a little edge here. Don't forget, Jacksonville was over in London for 2 games, 2 weeks?
Jacksonville beat him up in week 1 and didn't
That's
even play
fine,
that well.
but it's going to be hard coming back now.
It is hard. It is
East
hard
Coast
coming
time.
back.
And
although Atlanta did it and ended up winning.
Atlanta wasn't there for 2 weeks.
No, they were there for a week.
Maybe we'll see Gardner Minshew's jorts on full display.
Oh, I'm sure he'll be. I mean, if he could play in jorts, he would.
Can we make a bet if Minshew wins and plays well in this one? And I'll let you interpret whatever playing well is. You have to grow out a mustache and be a part of Mustache Mania.
He can't grow a mustache.
We'll put a fake one on for the segment. What about that?
Jack, our producer, said he wants me in jorts.
I'll take jorts.
Yeah, let's
you
do
wanna,
jorts.
You want to wear jorts in case this happens?
What's your part of the bet?
I don't need to be any part of this bet. I'm saying
Why would I have a bet that's one way? You got to have something that you'll do.
Okay, about this. We'll decide by tomorrow when we do a pick segment together.
All right.
Colts, Jags playing for first place in that division. Meantime, in the AFC North, you got a tie at the top. Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens. Pittsburgh just beat Baltimore. Brady, somehow, some way, Pete dropped the Steelers 2 spots after beating the Ravens.
So technically, they would be leading the AFC North because of that tiebreaker now. So they actually are at the top of the division. How many other teams are top of their division are ranked this low in your rankings?
Did you watch that game?
I did watch that game. And here's what I came away with. If the Steelers defense can just keep everything a low-scoring game, the Steelers are going to win some games because eventually Matt Canada is going to say, hey, Kenny, go throw a go route to George Pickens. They're playing press man-to-man coverage. And they can do that. So there wasn't much offensive brilliance, but there is the ability when Matt Canada allows them to take shots in one-on-one coverage. Pickens will dice you up. There's a few other mismatches, too. But outside of that, I don't know that you can bank on Baltimore, by the way, dropping 7 passes, too, over the course of a game.
7 passes. Lamar threw a terrible red zone interception. They had a punt blocked. I mean, it was just everything and anything that could go right for the Steelers went right for the Steelers, and so they won the game. Look, I picked them. That was one of my best picks for the week. I thought they would win the game, but didn't think they'd win it that way. They were terrible the other day. Terrible.
So you dropped them?
You gotta show up and play.
They showed up and played and won.
Yeah, well,
they're at top of the AFC North right now.
If you win accidentally, I'm not going to move you up.
They dropped 2 spots. That's the same number of spots the Cowboys dropped, getting beat by 30 points.
Pounded.
Yeah, well, who's the better team?
Between the Steelers and Cowboys?
Yeah.
Look, the Steelers didn't play the 49ers like this past week. Now, they did to begin the season. We saw what that looked like. What was the margin of victory between the two?
Well, wait. I'm asking you. You think the Pittsburgh Steelers, as they are constructed right now, are?
I'd love to see the Dallas Cowboys and Steelers square off.
They're not even. No, they're not as good as them. Come on, Brady. That offense is horrible. Now, Dallas's offense was horrible the other day.
See, I don't think the offense is horrible in Pittsburgh. I think the scheme is. I think what you're seeing week to week is.
What shows up is horrible.
Okay, speaking of horrible offenses, we have to go way down on your list. We're going to number 29, the Patriots. They have been outscored 72-3 over the past 2 weeks. And Chris, you teased it a little bit. Brady, you said Belichick should be fired, but there's a little trick
I did not
to it.
say that.
Pete said.
Oh, did I say Brady?
Yeah, you did.
Sorry,
Let's get
Pete
that
said
crystal
it.
clear.
Says
I've
Belichick
never
should
said
be
Bill
fired.
Belichick should be fired.
I said Bill Belichick, the coach, deserves to stay as long as he wants to. Bill Belichick, the general manager, should be fired tomorrow.
Fire the GM, Bill Belichick.
Tomorrow. He's done a terrible job with his team. That roster is awful. The quarterback he drafted in the first round, he's going to be the next Tom Brady. He's a disaster. That's a bad football team. He's responsible for it. He runs the entire building. And you wonder now, you really do wonder, if they didn't get lucky in the 6th round way back in the day with a guy named Tommy Brady, how good would this organization have been for the last 20 years? You wonder.
You're wondering. I'm not. Bill
You're not?
Belichick is a great coach.
He is.
And I think as far as Mac Jones and what he's been thrown his way, he had Matt Patricia as his offensive coordinator. He's never called offensive plays before. That was a disaster. And I think Bill Belichick had to own up for that. You then look at, for example, some of the personnel, wide receiver.
Right, what, Pete?
That's played a factor. I'm not going to
defender.
No,
The
I'm
quarterback
not defending him.
defender.
I'm saying it's been an interesting past couple of years, and they're having a hard time right now holding it all together. So I'm with you as far as the personnel decisions that Bill Belichick has made. It hasn't worked out. They're almost trying to build this roster like it's the start of the millennium. And this is like the beginning of the 2000s, where you can play low-scoring games and win those tight games. That's not the NFL anymore. You look at what the Dolphins are, that's more what the NFL has become. Speed, separation, scoring points, big plays. No one's driving down the field anymore consistently with 10, 12 play drives and scoring. That's not football anymore. It's gotten too spread out, too fast. Bill Belichick has kept this team kind of living in the past like they can still operate that way, and they can't. And so this is going to sound critical, but I'm with you as far as the personnel decisions. Bill Belichick will decide when he wants to leave New England. The reality is right now you almost have to make a decision moving forward. If Mac Jones isn't the answer, they could find themselves in the sweepstakes for a Caleb Williams, for a Drake May at the beginning of next year. And I'm sure no Pats fans want that, to have such a terrible season, and Bill Belichick doesn't want that.
I bet they do right now.
But maybe they do based on how things are looking right now anyway.
I mean, Mac Jones is done. Let's be real. He's done. I know you won't bury him, but he's done. I mean, I thought there was hope for him. There's no hope for him.
What happened to that segment, by the way? Remember last year you used to bury someone every week.
Yeah.
Every week. Pete buries blank. This week it's Mac Jones.
Mac Jones, buried. He's done.
You used to always be the Packers.
So you're saying they should play Bailey Zappi the rest of the year?
different
No,
times.
what they have on this roster, the way it's constructed, they can't win no matter who plays quarterback. It's a bad situation. But he didn't use a first-round pick on Bailey Zappi. He used a first-round pick on Mac Jones. He was going to take him from Tom Brady to the next quarterback. It's a fail.
I think the calling too last year, when you kind of had Bailey Zappi mixing in for Mac Jones and not really quieting that down, that really came from Bill Belichick making that decision. Now you're looking back in retrospect, and that's why people, I think, are having a much harder time looking at Mac Jones and how the last 2 weeks have looked.
Bill Belichick, GM, see ya. He should be fired.
They are at the Raiders this week. Then they have the Bills and the Dolphins the 2 weeks after that. Taking a look at our slate coming up this Sunday on CBS. We've got the 3-1 Seahawks at the Bengals. You got the Colts at the Jags, that battle for first place in the AFC South. Also have the Dolphins hosting the Panthers. How many points are Tua and the Dolphins going to put up against Carolina?